Hi Linda, hi Shaun. I thought I'd do you a video just to kind of save your time so that we don't have to organise another meeting, and also so that you can sort of view this as many times as you like over the weekend, perhaps, and get back to me next week. So I wanted to sort of show you some of the ideas that I'd come up with, and it's quite useful really, I think, to see them in the 3D plan on the computer. So it's kind of a good way to show you what I've been up to. The reason I went, usually I would do just hand sketches first, but I decided on this one to go straight to 3D model visuals, just because we want to be quite economical with the budget and the price of things, and because we're reusing the existing paving, I sort of worked out the square meterage of paving that we've got available, which I think is roughly about 19-20 square meters of the existing paving. And I sort of realised really quickly when I started sketching out, I thought, oh, this is nonsense coming up with a brilliant design that we don't have enough paving for. So to go straight to the sort of digital work means that the two options I've come up with, I've kind of used up 15 or 16 square meters of that paving, and I know I've got a little bit extra to spare in case things go wrong and we need to cut things. So that's kind of why I've done it this way. So let's just run through. I've come up with two options for you. I haven't done a curvy one because I did start playing with curves and circles, and actually, again, it doesn't come out very economical with reusing existing slabs. We'd have to make lots of cuts. And actually, I was quite happy with the sort of straight lines versions I'd come up with. It seems to work quite well in this space to kind of zone out all the different areas that you want. So hopefully you like it and you don't want a curvy option as well. So this is just an overhead plan looking at sort of shapes that I've come up with. I think this little area near the little summer house is still a useful area to have some small amount of seating there and paving there, just because it's going to get the morning sun. So I'm thinking of this spot as still a kind of morning coffee spot. And then what I wanted to give you was somewhere in this corner to get the last of that evening sun when the sun sets over here to the west. To get those last rays and then into your evening here, and also to give you a much bigger kind of family space for dining. Your table I'd sort of measured was only just over a metre and very small, with just 4 chairs round, so I've kind of planned for getting you a bit of a bigger eating area with perhaps 6 chairs. I know there's only 2 of you most of the time, but it's nice to have the option that you've got a bit more space to entertain, and it still gives you a nice area of lawn that would be artificial lawn. And then I've dealt with privacy issues and raised beds and things. So let me show you some of the bits and pieces that I was thinking of in terms of styling. One of the things we talked about was using pleach trees. This is a shot of a lovely kind of modern style garden. This is the pleached tree hedges that I was talking about, which is like sort of a hedge on stilts, which would be a great screening option for you, and I've used those in one of the versions. Just a point to note is that these ones here are quite well established, so when they first go in, they are, where's it, young pleach trees, they are actually kind of trained on a framework of canes. Oh, it's a bit blurry there. This is how you buy them. So you buy them, you know, on these kind of canes that are stretched out, and they still look attractive when they first go in, and it just means that this knits together, and then after a couple of years the canes get pulled out. You just cut those off, and the hedge kind of manages to stay self-supporting. So this is what they would look like when they first go in, and that will give you that lovely screening that you want on the back wall there. Let me just run through a few other little images that I've picked out of things that I was interested in, and then I'll go back to your design. This is a screenshot that I've grabbed from somebody else's site, but it's this kind of New England style, but a sort of modern take on New England style. I'm quite drawn by your cladding on the front of the house and those kind of colours, and also how this is quite a simplistic geometric shapes, straight lines, and paving, and big masses of planting of all the same sort of species. That's sort of one of the ideas I was playing with. And also this image here is a little bit more of a rustic garden. It's got the hydrangeas that you like, but white hydrangeas. But I quite like this sort of styling of these horizontal batten fencing here. And I was thinking between you and your neighbour on the right hand side, or possibly even all the way round, we could add to the height of your fencing just by about a foot or so, with using these kind of horizontal battens as like an additional trellis on top. And you are allowed to do that. You can raise it just a little bit higher, so that's another option. And painted this kind of soft grey, you know, the same colour as your house, I think would be, you know, a good idea anyway. I think the summer house and the existing shed, we should go for this light tone, and then your existing fencing I think is okay how it is, because it's kind of you know, gone back to that sort of silver grey. And even if we added battens on the top in a painted sort of colour, I think that would blend in quite nicely as well. These paving slabs aren't dissimilar to your own, they're a bit more grey, but that's a kind of nice sort of styling. And the other thing we sort of touched on was lighting. Oh, that's a bit of a small image. But the idea of having quite nice sort of shaped trees, even when they're small, and have these uplighters, spotlights going up into the tree canopy, that's something that I want to achieve on yours. So using your existing paving is going to be absolutely fine, but I want to extend the sort of patio areas and give you more space. So it's kind of deciding how to extend it and how to add to that paving. And this is what I'd like to suggest. I know this is different colours, but it's really effective when you have one kind of, if you have a larger slab material, like your existing paving is actually multiple sort of sizes, but they're bigger sort of sizes. And then to put that against a little brick paver or a clay paver like these is really effective. This design here has just broken up the big areas of large paving slabs with this clay paver detail. These are pavers from a place called Chelmer Valley, and they're absolutely brilliant. I love these Chelmer Valley. You can look on their website. They're based over in Essex. That's the company name there, Chelmer Valley. They do all sorts of different colours and different ranges, but they look so attractive. They're really nice. They're sort of long, skinny pavers. They don't look like a driveway paver as such. They can be used more in gardens and in design work. They can be used for driveways as well, but they're really nice in a garden. This is a garden designer that I know, Rachel Hartley, and she uses them quite a lot. She introduced them to me actually. So this is this lovely garden with a raised bed, big existing sort of mature trees, and then she's just taken out areas of detail of the paving slabs and mixed them in with this contrasting colour paver. So I was thinking for yours we could tone in with the lovely colour brickwork of your house. And you know, when we're talking about your bricks, they're not just a solid red colour, they've got like a grey fleck through them. They've got that sort of old stock brick sort of look. So we could use your existing paving, which is kind of buff colour once it's all cleaned up, and then we could do a sort of reddy tone clay paver, or even something with the sort of grey tone in it. So that might be quite interesting. And then I'm going to show you with and how we'll integrate them. What else? This sort of image I wanted to show you, something I've included in your design is a little bit of topiary, not as much as this, but just to have a kind of sculptural element of spheres, like clipped box spheres, particularly effective here contrasting with grasses, and I know this is an all green effect and we want to introduce a bit more colour in yours, but it's just a nice effect, the topiary against the grasses, so that'll give it a bit of a modern edge, and that's what I want to bring in. We will save all of your plants, and some of them can stay in position, and you have got some good plant material in there that we can pot up and safely reuse and reposition, so that you get the most bang for your buck, and you know, there's no point throwing away good plants. Right, okay, so I'm going to go straight on and show you this first design then, in all its glory. So bear with me a minute, we'll just go shaded with textures. Boom, there you go. Right, so this is the first kind of plan that I'd come up with. I'm going to take you for a little spin around your new garden. Right, let's go around this way. Okay, so the stone that I've coloured in this kind of buff colour is your existing paving stone. Like I say, I've measured it out so that it all works, and we've got enough of those to use in this design. And then around it, I would suggest using those little pavers in sort of a mixed tone, to sort of tone in with the house. So we've got a much larger kind of entertaining eating area there, and it looks kind of nice because you've got this sort of bordered and this two-tone look going on. And then moving round to the summer house, still having a small section. This would be relaid and mortared in properly, so it's not using any of the existing lay. We'd lift it all and start again from scratch. Actually, we'd probably get it all power washed first, so it's all cleaned up beautifully, and then we'd get all the stones lifted and stacked to one side before we started sort of relaying. So we've dealt with the privacy issue with a beautiful tree there, a sort of cornus, big cornus dogwood, chinensis flowering tree, something like that, lovely to sort of knock out that overlooking window. And then over in this corner, I've enlarged that sort of planting bed, and I sort of suggest putting some cobbles in there and a beautiful sculptural sphere water feature. This is the existing fascia that you've got there, and you've got a climber there, but then putting in amongst the sphere sort of grasses and a few sort of spring bulbs and things, and bringing the planting right up in front of the window of the summer house. Hopefully that summer house will be nice and cleared out, and it will be all nice and empty in there. Paint the shed and the summer house the lovely pale tone colour of the front of your house. Oh, let's have another spin around here. I've got lined up in a row the 3 pots that you already have of the 3 hydrangeas, which are lovely, and then replacing the existing sort of sleeper bed with brand new oak sleepers. So we've got a nice clean line there of brand new sleepers, and then this is my sort of focal point here. You've got that lovely Garrya elliptica that you've already got there, but 3 sculptural kind of topiary balls that I talked about in that bed, because this is a really key viewpoint through your windows. Let's have a little look. There you are, through your windows there. So it's nice to have that sort of focal point there. You've got that existing Garrya, new tree in the corner here, and then 2 beautiful shaped trees in these corners here to give you more privacy on that side. And then as we spin round, here you are, Shaun, here's your little chill out spot after a hard day in the kitchen. Here's your evening spot with your chimenea, a raised bed with a built-in seat. So I think this would be lovely, all in brand new oak sleepers, so it's quite a cost-effective way of doing it. It brings the planting up higher, and then this little bit on top of the fence here is the additional kind of slatted fencing that I'd like to put on top of the fence line, just to raise that up a little bit. And then I want to show you what these things are. So let's spin around again, back to the outside. Here we go. I've suggested using a beautiful screen here as well, and put in your lovely, what have you got? You've got a lovely big pot with a camellia in it. which would be nice on this wall. And there we have your little chill out spot to have a nice beer at the end of the day, catch the last bit of sun. But also for an extra little bit of privacy, in this design I've suggested using, I don't know if you can see this, these are called parasol trees. So they're basically uprights with a kind of overhead canopy on this design. So let me show you a picture of those parasol trees. Right, so here's one that's beautiful and it's been lit up with fairy lights as well. So just like the pleach tree, it's got the clear stem, but rather than the tree coming out across the way horizontally, it's actually trained over top like a little parasol shape, so it gives you a little bit of overhead kind of coverage, and it's a really cute thing to do in a small space. It gives you that little overhead. You know, I just thought of this a few days ago, sort of a bit of a eureka moment lying in bed, that we don't have to use overhead structures like beams. We can use it just as well with planting. So these are kind of cute, I think. There's let's show you another one. This is how you buy them from the nursery. There's a few different options. You can buy magnolias like this, lime trees. I think this is a lime with that beautiful fresh green leaf. And you can see how you can sort of put them together and create a whole canopy across a walkway there. So I'm not suggesting that, but we can definitely have them in a raised bed. This is an ornamental pear tree grown as a canopy. You see they just sort of spread out a little bit like two little green umbrellas. So let's go back to your design. So yeah, that's what I'd suggest there as one option, so that when you're sitting, let's see if I can get, don't know if I can get in this seated position, it's a bit tricky. When you're sitting down here, you will feel that sort of, oh no, I can't get the right angle. You will feel that kind of protection from those houses over there. You'll feel like an extra layer of kind of privacy screening. It's like double bubble. We've got tree here to block out that window over there. We've got two trees grouped in the corner. We've got additional trellising across this boundary. If budget allows, you could even have that additional trellising going all the way around the back boundary as well, if you wanted to, but it's possibly not necessary. It depends how you feel. And then you've got these parasol trees here. So yeah, that's you pretty well protected, I think, from prying eyes. Okay, so that's the first design. Just zoom out and give you one final spin. Oops, gone off the page. Right, come back. There we go. Right, so that's the square design. As you can see, room there for plenty of seating. I've plonked the table there, and I've given you quite a big table, but obviously there's no reason for it to go there. You can have it wherever you like, and you know, I've put it lengthways just because I want to try and lengthen the garden more. But of course you can have it going this way if you'd prefer, or a round table or whatever. Anyway, but that's just furniture. But you've got you see you've got a lot more space here that you can play with, whilst you've still retained quite a big area of lawn. It's kind of 50-50 really of the garden, and you've got the water feature here, which is in direct line of sort of sitting in this raised area. This is just like a little bubble jet water feature surrounded by plants and pebbles. Okay, that's the first option, option one. And then I started having a play around with the shapes to see where we could go from there, and if I could come up with anything different for you. So that's when I came up with a 45-degree plan. So this, there we go. This is a rough sketch layout at the moment, but I just wanted to experiment with throwing all the angles off to a tilt, and 45 degrees is always a good kind of angle to go at. It's, you know, it's not too shallow. So basically it sort of gives you triangular shapes, but it kind of skews everything, and it sort of directs the eye towards things. It sort of spins the eye out this way and then out that way. All the same elements within the garden, but just a different lay pattern, ground pattern. So let's put this, I've coloured this up and thrown some plants and things in. Badam, there we go. It's a lot more interesting, and it's probably a lot more kind of designery, if that's a term. So it possibly gives a bit more wow factor. It's just whether you like the angles. It's just going to be a personal choice thing. So let me spin you around this one. Again, I've worked out exactly that we've got enough of the pale buff paving stone to create this design, and we'll supplement it with the small paving unit, if you like that idea. It means that the raised bed idea is kind of in a slightly different position, and you'd be facing out this way. And for this one, I've just swapped things around a bit. I've put a beautiful flowering tree in this corner, and I've put the peach trees in instead of the parasol trees. So I've put, instead of on the previous design we had the flowering tree in this corner, I've put a row of 3 of the pleached hedge trees in here. You've still got those lovely beautiful shaped trees in those corners, but I've moved the sculptural spheres over to this side, and this would all be uplit with lighting and all these beds. Got little triangular raised beds there and a little square of pebble area. And for this one, which is quite interesting, I've moved the focal point water feature into the middle of the garden, because I thought that might be quite nice when you're sitting here again to have that viewpoint. And it's all about this zoning. You wanted these distinct zones. So actually this design probably zones it a little bit better. They're both in zones because of all the paving material, but this one, let's have a look at the view through. So when you're looking through your doors there, you've got a raised bed and, oh, you can't see it because the table and chairs are in the way, but you will see it. You'd see your water feature there, and you've got the privacy from the pleach trees, and then those bigger trees in the corner there, sculptural topiary, and then coming round out through the wall this way, you've got your sort of chill out zone, and this would all be uplit as well with lighting, beautiful spotlights in these raised beds. And then everything else all the same really, that I'd sort of, you know, all that styling, all the styling stuff that we pointed out. Paint this fence, keep the fence in as it is, or add to it as well if you wanted to put a little bit more height on. Keep those pavers but reuse them, and just this slightly different layout at the 45-degree angle. You've still got a good space lawn, which would be artificial turf, and you've got little planting areas around here in pebbles, which are pebble planting. You've still got enough room here for a little area for morning coffee spot. I think that's your morning sun spot, your evening sun spot, and entertainment area. So it's all nicely zoned. So there we have it. That's your second design option. So what I'll do is obviously give you access to this video now, and I'll give you some printouts of these that you could print out and have a look at, because I know it's difficult to make a decision just on this. I think I've taken some screenshots of, oh, I've taken that away now. I think I've taken some screenshots of both of these designs. Yeah, so yeah, I sort of took some screen grabs here earlier, so I can send you some of those stills, and I can also send you, yeah, things like this. I can send you a PDF file or something of this overhead shot for each design. So what you could do is have a look at it, have a little think, send me back your comments, either call me or on an email, whatever's easier for you, And yeah, let me know which one you want to go with, or if you've got any changes or amends to make. You could scribble on or write any notes on a printout of one of these plans is probably best as well if you've got any tweaks or changes or any suggestions. Okay, so have a good weekend and speak to you next week. Thanks very much. Bye.